Welcome to the Reclaim Leader podcast. I'm Jason Tucker.
And I'm Jesse Skiffington.
We're two pastors in the trenches who are passionate about church health for greater gospel impact.
We share the ups and downs of ministry, strategies that worked for us,
and some that didn't.
Best practices and practical tools for church leadership.
The goal, to help all of our churches flourish. Let's get started.
See another sunrise, sing a little song.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reclaim Leader. Jesse, it is almost, in real time, it's almost Super Bowl Sunday. I know you're excited out there in the Northwest, getting ready to root for the Seahawks. And I guess as a Raiders fan, I like the Patriots team now, but I can't root for the Patriots after our history together and the Tuck rule. So
anybody really root for the Patriots? Even Patriot fans should probably feel some
they're back in the Super Bowl already
issues, like give somebody else a chance, but also deflate gate. And there's just a lot, right? Anyway, I do
just alienated all the Patriots
so far aside, but Bill Belichick, not a Hall of Famer, first round ballot.
That's wild.
That is wild. Probably inappropriate, unnecessary. Anyway, we won't get into that. That's not why.
Anywho.
Yeah, pumped for the Super Bowl. It's fun to have fun with your community, and for better or worse, this is something that brings people together. You got doctors and lawyers hanging out with whoever doing the trash runs, and it's just like it's a cool thing where we come across demographics and all the things, and it just unites a community. It's good, fun to have fun. So anyway, looking forward to that. And but today we're getting toward the finish line of our 4-part series, looking through your process, and you outline that in your book. And so if you're just catching up with us, or maybe this is the first episode in this series that you're listening to, I encourage you to go back and listen to the first couple. Maybe put it at 1.5 speed and churn through it, or whatever you want to do. But get familiar with the other parts of the process here, because this is really the landing point. And man, I got to tell you, Jason, I think this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where things get a little sticky for churches. This is a lot of times where we fall down and don't follow through, and then some frustration can come with that. So we're going to get in this today. And then looking out ahead a little bit, where are we going next with our podcasts? What are some things?
Yeah. So, and then in the next episode, we're going to spend a little time talking about some systems, especially around giving, and just talking through and being transparent about where Tower Hill is and what we're trying to figure out. And just as a reminder that it's not like Jesse and I have arrived and we know all things. No. It's, even though, when you're equipped with a good process, you have to use this process over and over again. It's not a set it and forget it situation in ministry, which you guys
that's one of those things where I'm like, please don't ever come visit my church, because it's like, not really. We'd love to have you come visit us anytime. But there's this here we are trying to help people figure out how to lead well and lead change. And I'm looking around, I'm going, there's so much that we're still working on. And we figured some things out, but we're still feeling our way through the dark on some other things. And it's a working process, right? That's why we have these conversations. Absolutely.
And the exciting, I'm really excited for everybody to hear our interview with Kara Powell.
Yeah.
That's coming up the week after. So exciting stuff.
Yeah, really cool. So looking forward to that. Hopefully you'll circle back around, tune into the episodes that are coming up. But really wanted to just take some time to drill down on this deploy part of the process. So just high level reminder, discover, discern, decide, deploy. And so let's kind of pivot between decide and deploy here, and go back and listen. You'll capture kind of what the other two pieces are. But as you're deciding what to focus on, these key result areas, how do you prioritize that? How is it that you come to a decision about what it is you're going to deploy people and your resources toward, and how do we get to that point? Because there's often a lot of things that are coming to the surface as we're dreaming together.
Yeah, and this often is the part that is the difference between success and failure in putting your plan in motion, and that is properly assessing your resources, and then assessing what key result areas should take priority.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of tools in the book that talk about this, but really it's how do I look through our decision map of, key result areas. So let's say we have 5 key result areas that we want to work on. and we've all decided, and that's the thing we're going to do in the next, 3 to 18 months, whatever it is, whatever horizon that your team has figured out. And then it's okay, where do we start is really the next question. Do you do everything all at once? Do you do things in phases? Well, the answer is determined by, first, what are your resources? So if you had everything in front of you, what is the capital, human and financial, and physical, that you have in order to accomplish the thing? So let's say your key result area is you're going to need, you want to redo your parking lot, make for a safer and more hospitable welcome. And that's going to cost you $400,000, some crazy, because parking
Or
lots
in
are
our case from last summer, $183,000 and 500, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's way too much money.
It's crazy.
And then another key result area is we want to reimagine our Sunday school curriculum and the way in which we engage with kids on a Sunday morning, so on and so forth. And so let's say those are two. It's like, well, where do we start?
Yeah.
You need some sort of metric or some sort of tool to help you prioritize this, and to start asking questions like, what are the internal and external obstacles to getting these done? Well, in the parking lot instance, we don't have $200,000 sitting around.
Yeah.
We're going to have to raise it. So does that mean all work stops until we raise the money? That could be a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the things that you have to figure out. How complex are the obstacles that you're trying to get through? What are the resources that you have? And then you start putting priorities. And I just have a simple grid that I created, and it's got 4 parts.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine a box, or if you see it, if you're watching us online, I can show you the box if I could actually find it in my book. Well, I'll find it and I'll show you. I'll put it in the show notes. I'll put it in the show notes. But it's a grid, and it has 4 different parts: urgency, impact, complexity, and cost.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were just simply, let's just make it really easy. 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. Where does each of these key result areas score? There you go. Thanks, Jesse. Hooking me up. Where do each of these key result areas score in urgency, impact, complexity, and cost? And then that will help you determine, hey, you know what? The parking lot's important, but I think our Sunday school program is the most urgent.
Yeah.
And has the bigger impact.
Yeah.
And least complex and costs less. So therefore that gets bumped up to the front of the line. You see what I mean? So it sort of doesn't matter what rubric or tools that you use as a team. You just have to use something to assess and prioritize the work. Yeah. Oftentimes what we like to do is we like to do things in phases. We often don't have the money to do everything at once. So we're like, okay, phase 1, these 3 things. Phase 2, and then phase 3, this happened in our last campaign. Phase 3 is, if we have enough to do, we're going to start tackling. And then if not, it's going to wait to the next thing. Yeah.
I like that. Phases are good too, because it kind of allows you to not try to get everything done in that area all at once either. We've done a few things when we launched another worship service, and then what do we do with Sunday school or adult groups and classes? And so we kind of go, well, phase 1 is just getting the volunteer systems and everything we need to run another service. And then 3 months down the road or whatever, phase 2 will be, we're going to, and then start adding in some of these other elements that we think will be supporting this new kind of schedule that we have. So by doing that, you kind of give yourself, I think, some bite-sized ways to move through it and to communicate well about it. So as you're thinking about this discernment tool, one of the other things that I find helpful about having a tool or a rubric or a framework for prioritizing is that everybody has a different priority in the church, right? So the parking lot matters to some people a whole lot, right? And there's other people that are like, no, we need to pass on the baton of faith to the next generation. And if you don't have some sort of tool to agree that we're going to use to discern our priorities, then it's just preference, or it feels like preference, or you like kids, but you don't like the older people that have to walk on our bad parking lot, or whatever it is, right? So having a tool, I think, is super helpful. So you're discerning, you're prioritizing, and you're saying, this is the thing, these are the resources, this is what we're going to move toward, and we might take a phased approach, and you start to develop a plan around that. and then you start to communicate that plan. So I want us to take a little time here because this is so important, and I like how you kind of lay it out. But let's talk through, if we can. We skipped over some really good stuff, that high level stuff, like Andy Stanley and the mission on the wall is only as good as the system.
Yeah, it's all in there.
Yeah, it's all in there. The rubber meets the road, implementation and follow through. But let's talk about, we have a plan. Now we're going to start communicating it, and you kind of outline some things that we can do. And I'm just going to go back to the book here as we're thinking about how we let people know and how we get people excited about it and then involve them in it. So you say plan communication looks like theme it. What do you mean by theming your communication?
Yeah,
preaching it. We got that. I mean, do those go together, kind of?
Oh, absolutely. So. Yeah. This is really something that I came up with that we've just done every time we have done a capital campaign, or anytime we've done something where we're prioritizing our key result areas, whatever. This is a process we've done several times.
Yeah.
The real important thing in order to generate buy-in, so all along the way, you have been inviting increasing layers of people to join you on figuring out what are we going to do as a church. And now it's about, I want to unify everybody, because some people, they'll be at a point where I thought it was great you brought up about the parking lot. There'll be some people who think they don't like the way things have been prioritized. Yeah. There'll be other people, no matter how many times you've communicated, have no idea what you're talking about, what capital campaign, or what. And this is a way of bringing unity and a sense of, we're all in this together by the way you communicate it. And again, this is an area that churches struggle with, because oftentimes it's like, and I've made this mistake too, where it's like, okay, we've spent a year sometimes working on something, and then I'll deliver it in one shot, in one speed, and then move on with the rest of life.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they didn't have time to digest it or really get on board with it. And so they may not be excited to participate. So anyway, that was a little long-winded, but here's what we do. So when we have something, we theme it. So I'll give you an example. When we did our last campaign, which was when we were adding the new worship service, we had a bunch of asks for the congregation to step in and to join.
Yeah.
And we gave it a name. We just said, get in the game. That was our theme.
Nice. I love it.
We made t-shirts. We had a logo that we made that we used when we talked about it. And it was a way of taking the big idea that people can walk away and remember.
That's right.
Oh, they want me to get in the game. Remember, get in the game. Wear your shirts, get in the game. And it was really about volunteering, giving, showing up to the new service, all of that.
Yeah, that's really good. Ours was paving the way for the future.
I love it.
It's just silly tagline, right? Kind of thing. Back in the day when we did a bunch of changes, we called it the Vision and Legacy Campaign. Join the vision, celebrate the legacy. I mean, it was like, we want to get people's hearts involved and have something that's memorable that they can take with them. So I love that. So theming it is a good thing to do, and to kind of make it something that is fun and catchy, and just have fun with it. There's nothing wrong with having some enjoyment in this with people and kind of going, hey, we called it paving the way, and it's about a parking lot. But then it sticks, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then that segues, what I often do is I'll do a sermon series with that same theme. So we did a Get in the Game sermon series, and it's an opportunity to tie the mission, theology, scripture all together for people in a way. So now it's not just a tagline. It has some real spiritual weight behind it. Like, this is why we're doing it. This is, if you're wondering why we decided to do this, this should answer those questions theologically, scripturally, as to why. It's the foundation. Connecting the theme to scripture. First of all, we should be doing that anyway, but it's really important for people to see that, okay, they've thought through this through the lens of their theology and vision and mission. And that matters to people. They're like, yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Again, even if people don't agree with what you're doing, if they know why you're doing it, they'll come along for the ride.
Yeah, that's really good. And when you're putting together a series, is this like 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 10 weeks?
It depends. It sort of depends. So this Get in the Game series, I think we did for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It was pretty quick.
Yeah.
It was a summer series. There are a lot of reasons for that. I think the longest series we ever did, I did a vision series early on here that was about 8 weeks, and that was we went through every part of a big long statement that we did.
Yeah. So good. So each situation might be unique in how you're going to do it, or the scale of the change that you're implementing, or whatever. So I think it's really a cool way to bring people in, though. And I think we sometimes forget how important and impactful the preaching time can be. And I often am looking around going, what could I loop into the sermon as an illustration or an application point that involves something we're doing or trying to do as a church? And it really is that primary communication point where we're getting to share vision. So, and in keeping with the direction of Scripture. So I love that. And then your acronym, which is, we got it. I don't know what we're going to do with your acronym. It's TBGWGDTRC. So anyway,
I
really
just
good.
thought that was funny.
I know it is funny, but the next two are go wider with it and go deeper with it. Just kind of high level. What do you mean by go wider and go deeper?
Yeah. So going wider is simply allow for some more voices to contribute or to respond. Oftentimes, obviously preaching is one-way communication most of the time.
Hopefully.
So how do we open up a conversation on a larger scale? So this is like have town hall meetings or have more presentation style meetings where you can invite people to weigh in, to advocate for, to ask questions about, to feel like they're heard, all of that.
Yeah.
And that's, unpack why and what and how, and then go deeper with it. So during the sermon series, for example, maybe you want to have small groups look at each kind of scriptural or theological piece a little deeper. And what I found helpful is if you have a small group ministry in your church, is to have them all use that as their curriculum, if you will, for those 6 weeks. If you don't have a small group ministry, this is a wonderful time to just say, hey, we're going to do a group for 6 weeks if you want to think more about each week's sermon. Right. You could just have one group and that would really help. So wider and deeper.
Some other things, right? I like that a lot. And when we were doing the paving the way piece, we didn't spend a ton of time from a sermon series standpoint, I think 2 weeks. But the idea was, what does hospitality mean? How do we see this as a resource that's not just for us, but for the sake of what God is doing in our surrounding community and the people that we want to invite to come here? How do we have a really great welcome mat for people to come? And so, even just kind of thinking and getting people thinking in those terms, they get to share in the vision and have conversations around that. And if there are some dissenting opinions, they get to at least be sounded out or heard in that. And that's okay. Maybe it helps them come along. And then the last couple, you talk about triage it, repeat it, celebrate it. So let's go through those last parts of the communication plan. What do we mean by triage it?
Triage it is really just making sure that you are allowing enough room for detractors or dissenters. It's not the most fun thing that we like to do, but I think getting to them early and often is good. So I'll give you an example. Not everyone will come to you as a pastor and say, I don't like the plan, because they like you, they want to be liked by their pastor for whatever reason, but they'll talk. They'll tell somebody, and somebody's like, hey, so-and-so's upset over the thing. I'm like, oh, really? And I always have the same, like, I wish they would have talked to me. But I'm like, well, let me just not wait for this to boil over. And honestly, I just send them a quick email and I'll just say, hey, I heard that you might be upset at some of the change. I don't know if this is true or not, but I'd love the chance to talk with you about it. Want to grab coffee? That
goes so far, Jason, getting out ahead, addressing it, and not being bothered by somebody disagreeing with the direction. Or it's like, let's talk about it then. And, I used our famous example here at Marine View when we changed our kind of fellowship area that we call it now, but we did a whole bunch of changes in there with furnishings and stuff. And Marge Grimm walked in and she took one look around that morning and said, I hate this. And it was like, oh my goodness, Marge Grimm. And so what was it about it? She just kind of has a hard time with change, and she just needed to kind of be heard. and listened to, and then she got on board. It just took her a little longer than other people. So if we're willing to engage with that and not avoid it, as pastors are wont to do, we don't like conflict. So, but if you can do that, you can take a lot of sting out of maybe criticism or letting something grow into a real problem. So, and if somebody's a stick in mud, let them be a stick in the mud and move on.
Yeah, some people just won't be happy with it, but it's okay. I mean, it's okay. But I don't want it to be because we didn't try to include
That's right.
it.
Yeah, we should reach out, right? And then repeat it, celebrate it. So repeat it. This is something good communication, right? But go ahead.
No, I just try to find another touch point later on to come back to and just sort of rehash in a more condensed way. So sometimes I like a video that I'll do that will get sent out in our email blast to all the people that receive our newsletter, right? Just a quick reminder. This is what we've been talking about. Here's a refresh, and just keep it top of mind. Again, it's reinforcing it. Totally. And then celebrate's close behind. It's then celebrate when people do the thing that you're inviting them to do.
Yeah.
So
and that's kind of noticing it and going, look how it's already working, or look at the people that are pumped about it. And we're glad. This is awesome. So good job, Marine View. Good job, Tower Hill. What a great thing that we're doing together. And isn't God good? It's like, and then people start to feel good. And then the people maybe that are dragging their feet a little bit are like, I want to be part of the feeling good about it too. And so there's a lot of this buy-in that's connected in this communication plan. Yeah. Absolutely. What else on the communication front? Anything else that you want to kind of throw into the mix?
You really can't communicate too much.
Okay.
You really can't. So, we'll use that theming. Let's say we come up, and it's not like we don't pay, marketers to come up with logos. Is that we just get on Canva and like make something. But then we put it everywhere. Mm-hmm. We just want to make sure that we're tying everything that we're doing as a church to this current moment of trying to be faithful in mission. Mm-hmm. And for everyone to take a step with us in that direction. Mm-hmm. And that just takes a lot of communicating, and you're going to feel really tired of communicating. That's okay.
Yeah. I think let's pause on that for just a minute, because I do think this is really important. And I have this conversation with our worship team quite a lot too. Not everybody's there every time, and not everybody's going to communicate on the same medium that others do. And so we might feel like we've said it or maybe sung it a bunch of times if it's a worship song. But for many people in our congregation, they're not getting nearly as many touch points with it as we are. And so just remembering that repetition and consistency is going to ensure that people really get it. And if there's a few people that are like, oh, I've heard this speech already, great, they get to hear it again. But for others, they're going to really need us to revisit that and keep coming back to it. So I think that's spot on. You can't not communicate, and you can't not over communicate. It's just communication is essential to really making this thing go.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then it's about, once we put all this into motion, how do we know that we've accomplished the thing? I mean, you have to measure the outcomes. That's really like the kind of the final stage there. It's like,
what are some things you guys do to measure outcomes? 'Cause, I mean, we can count, right? So that's one way to measure outcomes, but how else do we measure outcomes depending on what we're trying to do?
Yeah, it's really about how do we determine whether we're being faithful and fruitful?
Yeah.
How do we know that? It's both subjective and objective. So the objective part is we have met the pieces of the plan that we said we would. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, even if you have a plan, you'll adjust the plan. Hey, for example, we were going to order a new camera in our worship space, and we realized, oh, that's more money than we thought. Let's wait a couple months.
Yeah.
And it adjusted our time horizon a bit, but that's okay. You can always adjust a plan. It's really hard to adjust nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So then it's like, have we hit those things just based on the time-stamped plan that we did?
Right. Yeah.
And then how do we know that it's doing what we hoped it would do? Mm-hmm. There are some ways you measure that. Again, I think, and I talk about personal spiritual discipline, and that is the fruit test. Just Jesus, quite simply, a good tree bears good fruit, a bad tree bears bad fruit. If it's bearing good fruit, judged by Galatians, mm-hmm. If it's bearing good fruit, that's a really good sign that we're in the right direction. And then just simply going through Acts 2, in the early church. And this is something that Bob Weitzel had turned me on to, is if you just look at the different aspects of the early church, there were 4 areas that sort of showed that early healthy church that I think every church since that time has been trying to get to.
That's right.
And that is maturity,
Yeah.
unity, favor,
Mhm.
and numbers. Now,
Yeah.
favor, this is important. Favor isn't like prosperity gospel favor. Favor
Right.
is being seen positively by even those outside the Christian community.
Yep. Yeah.
But if we can ask and kind of add that layer of Acts 2, 42 to 47 and say, how is it going according to this standard?
Mhm.
I think that's how you can measure outcomes pretty accurately.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good kind of framework for just, those are more subjective sometimes. Sometimes they're overt, like, hey, more people are coming, and that's sort of the Lord added to their number daily kind of thing. Or it just feels like we're all on the same page. Like, that's the unity piece. Or somebody from your community says, hey, that's a really cool thing that you guys did. Or I noticed the new parking lot, good job, or whatever, like something winsome. But I like that. And I think you hit on those 2 really important areas. One's objective. We set SMART goals, FAST goals, however you determine your plan goals. And you go, did we hit our numbers? Did we get there when we wanted to get there by? Or if we adjusted a little bit, did we hit our targets and all of that? And to get the thing done, to implement it. And then there's the sort of the subjective outcomes. That's more the Acts 2, 42 through 47. You can measure some things, but there's something in the air, right? You go, yeah, I think it worked. It's that fruit that's come. So really good stuff, Jason. I love it. We could go on. This book and our conversation is really what we've been talking about for 8 years, right? Or however long we've been.
It really is. Yeah.
Putting this out there, right? And it's like, this is where our hearts are. And I know there's a lot of folks listening that this is where your hearts are. You want to lead your congregations well. If you're a pastor, elder, you're a leader in the church, you want your church to thrive and to be healthy and to make a difference in the world. But sometimes we come up a little short on the how, or we're just in the trenches, and it's like, if somebody give me a roadmap for how we can do these things. And so what I really appreciate about your book is it really is something of a roadmap, right? It's not the only way to go about these things, but here's a really good, clear process that you can begin to move toward. And I think you and I found is pick a process and just keep it consistent, and you'll find that you're getting traction over time. So nicely done, capturing all of this for the sake of the church, the kingdom, and we're grateful for that, Jason. And if a leader, somebody's listening in, a question that I like to ask a lot of times is like, what now? Like, what are we going to do now? Or what are we going to do right after that? What are we going to do next? And if we're asking those questions, I think the what now is get a hold of Jason's book and give it a look, read it through. Maybe get a couple of people on your team to give it a read and say, what does this mean for us? And then the what next piece, I think, is, I don't know what that is for each church, but it's to pick something. It's to begin. And I think that's true for all of us. And maybe you have a process you're working all the time, or maybe this is something that can really help you begin to take some steps as a congregation and as a local church that we want to see thrive for the sake of the mission of God in the world. So final thoughts, Jason, really good work. Celebrate you and all your kind of hard work to pull this together. But what do you want to leave us with as we're kind of coming into this little mini series?
I think 2 things. The first is, a lot of pastors are worried about, what if I pick the wrong things to work on? And I just want to put you at ease. You're probably not going to pick the wrong things.
Yeah.
And it almost doesn't even matter which you start with, as long as you as a congregation are working on it together. You all are going to grow spiritually, taking that risk and trust, and you're going to be closer to meeting the needs of the people you're trying to reach. So just have faith in that, and also have faith in yourself. Yeah. This book is meant to give you a church health process that you can lead your church through. But remember, God's placed you in the church you're in for a reason.
Yeah.
He didn't choose somebody else. He doesn't want you to be somebody else. He wants you to be you. And lean into that. Trust that you're the right person with the right gifts at the right time, at the right place, and own it, and move forward with that kind of confidence of the Spirit.
Yeah, I love it. That's so good, Jason. And, I think there's something, as you're working a process like this, it is culture shaping too. maybe almost more than anything else. It's going to lead to some really hopeful and tangible outcomes, in your life together. But as you do the work of the church together, it reshapes the heart of a congregation too. And that's a really awesome part of a process like this, because what do we say? Culture eats strategy for breakfast, or whatever the things are, right? So if we can get a culture of we move in a direction because of who we are, because of who we're trying to reach. We've discerned about some ideas that we want to try. We prioritized, and now we've implemented, communicated well, and look what God is doing. So really good stuff, Jason. And final thought is yours on the table, and we'll get back to some more great conversations next time around.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody knows you can download the free chapter of this book. If you're deciding to buy it, if you just go onto our website, reclaimleader.com/speaking their language, there's an opportunity to download the first chapter and check it out and see if it's something that may be for you. But either way, we're here for you, Jason or Jesse at reclaimleader.com. We're happy to help and to keep talking about church health. And because as we always say, ministry is hard. It is so much better when we do it together. All right. Take care, everyone.